Hello, everyone. Welcome to Just Chats. I'm your host today, Uncle Dominic. Today, we'll be talking about unlocking opportunities, advice for students on securing scholarships. Now, we all know embarking on this journey for higher education or any education is exciting, but is often financially challenging, especially for students. You know, education now, the cost of education is continuing to rise, and students are finding themselves harder and to find to well they have to see student loans and debt, but unfortunately there is always a hope, and that hope is scholarships. And so we are going to talk more about it today and talking about finding those hidden opportunities. So here with us today we have Rochelle Lachey. So let's invite her. Hello, Rochelle.
Hi, how are you?
Great. How's your day so far today?
It's been really good. How has your day been?
Mine has been crazy, sort of, but yeah, but it's all good still. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Of course. My name is Rochelle. I am originally from South Carolina. And a few years ago, I was in a lot of student shoes trying to figure out how am I going to pay for college? How am I going to go to school? So I just dedicated hours on finding scholarships, finding the right scholarships and applying. And after really working hard, dedicating time and doing a lot of sacrifices, I was able to graduate college with over $200,000 in scholarships.
Oh,
Plus, my master's program at the University of South Carolina is fully funded for my master's, as well as getting a $7,000 living stipend. And then also understanding how scholarships not only can fund your financial situation, it can also enhance your professional growth. And I leveraged my scholarships to get so many internships, and as a result of that, I was able to generate a five-figure savings before graduating
wow.
college. So that just really put me ahead of the game. And really, that's kind of been my life for the past few years. And starting my business, A Girl Dropping Knowledge, to help other students do the same. Also being on social media, trying to give free tips and free advice on not just where to find these scholarships, but most importantly, how to find these scholarships. So that's kind of really a little bit about myself. That has been my main focus for the past few years, and it's something that I really enjoy doing.
Well, did anyone help you to start this up when you first started to find scholarships? Or always is just all you?
It was so funny. It was me sitting at my dining room table every day after school. I got early release in high school, and I didn't know how to start applying to my senior year, which was really the biggest mistake I could have ever made. But I started at kind of the last minute in my mind and still came out on top. But I sat at my dining room table every day, worked up until midnight, maybe 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning, did not have a social life, and just started applying. And it was just me, myself, and taking the chance and going for it.
Like you had an opportunity to apply for scholarships, and you definitely had a desire to go to college, right? But there are other
Right.
students, actually right now. I think there are quite a lot of students who don't vision themselves to go to college, and because of that they don't even think about scholarships, because all in their mind they're thinking that it's unaffordable. Why should I even think about it, right? So what would you say to students like that?
Who not maybe want to go to college because it is too expensive.
Well, they already
Um
know it's expensive, so that
mhm,
means in their mind it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna go to college, I'm just gonna go to work after that. So they don't even think
mhm.
of there's a prospect of scholarships to help them.
Right. I would say to students like that to weigh all of their options before they settle on one thing of what their thinking is going to be like, because there's so much resources out there, there's so much free money out there. So I would say to really, this is what I do. I made a list. Pros and cons of doing something. So whether that's going to college or going to the workforce, I would say create a list. And if the pros outweigh the cons, I would go at it whichever best fits that way. But before doing that, like I said, use all your resources, use your local communities, use Google, use YouTube, and just really figure out if there is an opportunity, is there a possibility for
Hmm.
that student to go to college, to see, because there's so many scholarships out there that are funding educations, and a lot of students aren't applying for them because they're thinking, well, college is just too expensive to go in the
Mhm.
first place, or if I apply to this scholarship and I don't get this scholarship, now what? So it's really like a game. That's kind of how I look at scholarships as a game. You just have to know where to find it and know that it's out there to even consider doing that.
That's right. I think I was in the same boat before when I was in college. I actually found two scholarships that actually no one applied for it at all. I didn't even know that. I just figured like, okay, there's this two scholarship. I figured I should try this out. And when I found out I was the only one applying for it, and I got it instantly. It's like it helped a lot. It helps a lot.
Yes,
Right.
it does.
And I was looking at your website as well for you. You're actually a founder and CEO of this thing called AGDK. So
Yes.
I was looking all over. What is AGDK? I actually found it, but could you tell the audience what is AGDK and what do you do there?
Yes. So AGDK stands for Girl Dropping Knowledge. And it really at this point in the stage, it's an educational startup company. We focus on education, e-learning, and different consulting services in the education field. Right now, we are focusing on pushing our scholarship aspect of the company and also our professional development aspect. So, seeing how scholarships and professional development can utilize each other in the real world. That's what we're really trying to get students to understand is that the more scholarships you get, the better it can help you grow professionally,
Mhm.
better help you get those internships, better help you get those job opportunities. So we do things like that where, and I also offer digital products on teaching students how to get scholarships, as well as how to grow professionally, such as networking, effective communication. Also, I mentioned earlier our consulting sessions, we call them power chats because they're short sessions where I meet one on one with a client or someone who just wants to take their education to the next level, whether that is understanding how to really find and apply for these scholarships or understanding how to grow their professional brand. It's a one on one coaching session that I would do with my clients. Also, I am an entrepreneur overall, so I do offer entrepreneur services like how to pitch your business.
Mhm.
I've been able to pitch my business in front of millionaires, CEOs, business executives, and this is all within the range of me graduating undergrad. So I'm fairly new to my business. I haven't really been running. I've been running for a year now, and I've participated in about 5 to 7 pitching competitions
Mhm.
within that short span of me being operating. So really just teaching everyone gems, dropping them knowledge, whether it's scholarships, whether it's growing your professional brand, or maybe if that's how do I communicate my business, they all kind of go together in the form of growth and professionalism. So that's kind of like a synopsis of my company, what I do, and how I plan and how I'm doing it right now to reach my audience.
I like that because during my time, well, long time ago, probably over 20 years now, over 20 plus years. Yeah, I mean, no one tell me what to do. Like there's you go to school, you go to college, like you're a student and your focus is to get education, to study hard. But then there's all these other things, like how you gonna get money to help you in your studies. And then I found out about scholarship, and then they give you a bunch of paper. There's so much papers, and the scholarship has different names. Some even have like weird names, and some doesn't even tell you what they are or what they offer you. They just have to apply for it. And students right now are so lucky that you are there to actually, people like you to help others to navigate their way to create a path much easier for them, right? Because in those
Right,
days, we have to find a path, and oftentimes you find the wrong one, or you don't know what you do, or you give up, so because there's too much to see,
right,
right?
right. And I can really add on to that. When I first started my scholarship journey, I'm sure I was doing everything wrong. I
Yeah.
don't remember how many scholarships I applied for, but I know it was hundreds of scholarships. And just to be honest, out of all of those scholarships, I might have gotten 75, maybe 50 to 75 scholarships, if that. I don't even think it was that many. So that goes to show I dedicated hours and hours on top of applying and didn't know if I was doing it right or if I was doing it
Mhm.
wrong. And I'm just so grateful that at the time I had that mindset where my goal was funding my education because I did not want to take out in debt. I did not want to graduate with a lot of loans. I said, well, if I graduated with a certain amount of loans that's manageable, that is a-okay with me. But I heard all these horror stories about students coming out of college with hundreds of $1,000 in debt, and I just did not want to be that person. So I tried, and I'm sure I failed 1,000 times. I got so many rejections. You're really going to get more rejections than you are going to get awarded these scholarships. But I kept going because I had that mindset,
Mhm.
and I knew that there were scholarships were out there, and I knew that if I kept going with it, then I would get the, scholarships over time. So I can really attest to that, not knowing upfront. Just you just have to jump in and try,
Mhm.
and you just have to fail 1,000 times until you
That's
really
right. Fail
understand what
down.
you're doing.
I will have to say it's a little bit different now in the country I'm living in right now in Taiwan. The education here is, I would say, almost considered free or very cheap compared to the U.S. when I had my education there, or even in Australia. Um, it's so cheap that students sometimes don't even think about it. So they just, all right, the scholarship is there. They just don't look for it. They just, oh, it's okay. I'll just go, and so they accumulate this debt, and they think they can pay it after they graduate. Some do, and some students that I've met who are over 30 plus years, and they're still paying their debt. I mean, great if they can do it, but I bet there are other students out there who are struggling with finding debts, and therefore they work in convenience stores or extra hours somewhere just to stress themselves out just to pay their debts. And it's horrifying, especially if you're 20 something and you graduated, and then, or if you married young, and so you have a family. How are you going to support all this? Plus there's a debt right behind you, chasing
Mhm.
you, right? So that's
Right.
crazy.
Yeah, it
Would
is.
you say like these opportunities for scholarships, are they like totally hidden? Like, would people just hide it so it's harder for students to find it, or is it just out there? We just students just don't see it.
It's honestly scholarships are, and I know people say this all the time and it's such a cliche. They really are everywhere. You just have to know how to find the scholarships. Um One thing that I can say that I have learned from my journey, when I first started applying to scholarships, I would just do a random Google search like scholarships for high school students. And you get a lot of these sponsored ads on Google that pops up where I don't know if you've seen the $2,000 no essay scholarship. You can get a lot of
Mm,
those common scholarships that appear. And what a lot of people don't realize is the more common they are, the more people that are going to apply for it, especially if it's easy. I mean, a lot of students, they're not going to want to write that 5,000 or 500-word essay. So when you see a scholarship that says no essay, I kind of red flag them because then you're gonna have more competition. You're gonna have more people. So really trying to find those quote unquote hidden scholarships, I would say, is when you tailor them specifically to who you are as a person.
mhm,
So for example, if I was back in high school and I wanted a scholarship, I would Google scholarships for high school seniors in South Carolina who are African American female. Because now I just narrowed my pot down to people who are just like me, so there's not going to be a lot of people already out there
mhm,
applying, and that's also going to increase my chances. And let's say I wanted to be a biochemistry major or a bio major, I would look on scholarships specifically to that major in that state. And even further, I would try to find a major of going to that college. So really being as specific as possible to narrow it down, that will really help you find the perfect scholarship for you, and it will also increase your chance of getting that scholarship if it falls within your category.
mhm.
So I would say just understanding how to search it, get creative on the internet, figure out different ways to search for scholarships, then you will really be surprised on truly how many scholarships are out there.
I think this applies for everything. It's so much easy now for students because you have the access of Google. Back in my days, there's no Google. Like, well, what do I do? So you have to actually
Right.
go and buy newspapers or go to magazines. And look at all those things,
Yeah.
or student hotspot areas, and just see all those flyers there. Man, it's so
Yeah.
different now. So different. I mean,
It's like you have, yeah, like you have Google now, also social media, TikTok, their
oh,
influencers who
TikTok is
post
crazy here
scholarships.
now.
Instagram. I know on my Instagram page, I post scholarships that have upcoming deadlines. Like in October, I created a list of scholarships that were due before October 31st,
Mm,
and so on and so forth. I try to offer the resources for the students who maybe just don't have time, or they just don't really want to go out there and look for scholarships. So I try to make it as easy and accessible as possible on my platform, where
mhm,
I'll post scholarships that students can apply to. I'm actually working on a new project where I'm going to create a document of scholarships that are just out there, and I'm going to put it in the link in my bio so students can actually just click that link and get all the scholarships for free to their own smartphone or to their own devices, and all they have to do is apply for it. So just really, in the world of technology today, it's so much easier versus a couple years ago. And I was looking for scholarships, I did not have, or at least I didn't know about it on social media, that I can just go on social media and their influencers were just posting
mm.
free scholarship. So it's getting easier. It's just understanding how to actually go about and submit that stellar application, not just applying, understanding how to apply.
Just for everyone out there, I'm just gonna put a message down here, typing in that Rochelle's website, the AGDK, and yes, all the stuff's in there that you can actually look for, and you can actually find her Instagram in there as well. You can find the things that she just mentioned, the scholarship that's out there. You can find it. I especially like this thing that you actually put on your website. It says there's this quote that you gave. It says there is simplicity within the complexity of life, but you must challenge yourself to find it. I mean, I really like it. So I would like you to explain that if you could to our audience out there.
Yeah, that's actually a quote that I came out with about a year ago when I was starting my company. And basically, what that means is, at first glance, something new that's unfamiliar to us seems very hard. It seems like, oh gosh, never going to understand. It's like investing. Or I use an example, starting a business. A lot of people out there, they may want to start a business, but they see it as this big challenge. Only the wealthy, only people of certain caliber can actually accomplish or sustain a business, because it just looks very challenging. It looks very frightening at first. But when you teach yourself and when you grow and when you try to educate yourself on not only how to start a business, but how just to be an entrepreneur across the board, it becomes easier. So there is simplicity within these things that we look at as challenging, because if one person can do it, why can't I do it? Or why can't the next person do it? You just have to educate yourself. So that quote is really referring to learning new things, educating yourself on a topic that may seem hard at first, and when you're starting to understand it, you understand, oh, wow, this is actually really simple. So that's, in simple terms, that's exactly what it means. Trying to learn something new that you never thought about doing before, that you thought was really challenging. But then when you put the time in to understand it, you understand that it's not that hard at all.
I like that because it's just the way of life right now. There's so many things going on. Even for students, young students in high school, even so much things going on. Their love life, their education, their family life. I mean, all this is there. And actually, it's quite simple in a lot of things, but because they're young, they don't really know, so it makes it difficult, right? So,
Mhm.
I was also researching a little bit more about
Okay.
how to find my scholarship before, finding some ideas that I should have done when I was younger, but now we could share it to the younger generations now, right? So one of the things that
Right.
I found is, well, this is the question I should be asking you: is that how early do you think we should start getting ready to find the scholarships? Like you
I
mentioned, you were
think
in a
as
senior year of high school, right? So I
yeah,
did it
and
when
see,
I was
that was
actually in college already, so it was a bit different.
right. And honestly, in my opinion, your senior year of high school is kind of late. I mean, I accumulated a lot of scholarships in that short period of time, but realistically, once you graduate high school, you're going to start college. I mean, you can apply in college, but if you don't have enough scholarships to cover the first year or the first semester of school, that's loans that you're going to have to take out coming right out. So I would say, honestly, the earliest freshman year of college, maybe even sooner, depending on the scholarship, because there are scholarships out there for sophomores, juniors, and freshmen. Maybe even sooner than that. If you can find a scholarship out there, you can do a simple Google search. Are there if you're in I don't like to say freshman year of college, Google, are there scholarships out there for high school
Hmm.
freshmen? And I'm sure Google will have a list of all the scholarships. So as soon as freshman year in college, possibly even sooner if you can find any out there that will fit you.
Hmm.
And then on some scholarship organizations, they will send you your scholarship check directly. In that case, put it aside, use it for books, use it for tuition if something is not covered. So I would say the sooner you can, the better. But most definitely, your freshman year of high school is when I would start at least looking and getting comfortable and, you know, maybe getting a couple things wrong until you can really understand how to do that. So you get as much practice as you can and have as much time to accumulate. Because imagine if I started earlier. I mean, I would have had so much more scholarship
Hmm.
than I had now. So yeah.
Makes things easier too. I just want to add to that as well because what she mentioned earlier is just kind of very general in the way of finding scholarship. But if you have a this works in Taiwan as well, right? It works in Taiwan, works everywhere. If you have a specific college or school that you want to go to, you can actually go to the websites and then you can actually
Mhm.
find scholarships there hidden there in one of the small tiny links, and then you can find it and get
Right.
in there and find out specific scholarships that is for that school only. And if you're able to find
Exactly.
that, you can start planning for it earlier because they like she mentioned, there's different kinds like for the what studies you are going to. There are those
Mhm.
over there. Yeah. So
Right. And I just want to
yeah.
add to what you were just saying, I that's exactly what I did for my master's program. I'm getting a master's in human resources, and I was like, okay, I had the GPA was high, and I was like, there's no way I should be paying for my master's
Hmm.
degree.
Hmm.
So I went to my university's website and I went to the master's program because that's really how a lot of schools work. Once you reach your master's, they go by department, they go by school. So I went to the department online. I was searching, okay, what are the scholarships that they have to offer? And if you don't see any scholarships up there, contact the person on that page or contact someone in that department because that's what I did during the summer when I was looking at going to school.
Hmm.
I was on at least 2 or 3 calls. I was weighing my options from 3 universities, and I was on 2 or 3 calls with each representative from that university that specifically worked in that department and knew about like the financial aid opportunities and the scholarship opportunities. And I was asking them, this is my GPA, this is what I want to major in. Are there any scholarships? And if so, is there opportunity or possibility for me to get a full ride?
Hmm.
So call the people up, email them, let them know you want to meet. That's also better for you because they'll get to see your face and they'll get to kind of hear your story. And then when they think about scholarships, then your name should pop up in their head. So that's what I did. That's exactly one I think was one of the biggest reasons or which helped me to get that full ride scholarship because I learned about the scholarship that I probably would not have known about if I waited, or I mean, it would have been on the website
Hmm.
eventually, but at least I was able to prepare myself before it was just thrown out there to the public. So I would say really doing that ahead of time to get to communicate with somebody else and start preparing for those big scholarships like that.
You mentioned something that I want to focus as well, which is GPA. It is very important, guys. I mean, it's not just finding a scholarship and getting it and you'll be successful. It's not. You have to study as well. You have to, it's just not don't muck around, don't play around, study well and eventually you will be rewarded. Getting you don't have to get 4.0. I mean, if you get a 3.6, that is the I guess most minimum of the scholarships, right? Or I think there are 3.2 as well. I don't remember, but maybe now it's a bit higher now. What is it during your time?
Um,
What's the
I want to say it might have been a minimum of 3.0. I
3.0?
had a
Okay,
high
that's pretty low. Okay.
GPA at the time, but yeah, I would say if you have a lower GPA, that's not going to count you out. I would just say have as many work experiences, volunteer
Yes,
experiences
that's
as
it.
that will make up for your GPA and be able to write. I think a lot of people underestimate the essay portion. The essay portion is what I tell people all the time. This is your time to shine. If you understand the storytelling techniques and putting together a paper, use the storytelling techniques combined with your extracurricular activities, and it will balance itself out when you're applying for those scholarships. So if your GPA is not 4.0, 3.8, 3.6, 3.9, it's okay. You just have to pick up on the other end when it comes to your experiences and being able to relay that
Mhm.
experience and maybe explain why in your essay, and it should really even the playing fields out for you.
And Rachel just pointed out the next point that we were supposed to talk about, which is not only education but extracurricular activities. In this is happening in Taiwan for a lot of students. They don't really think that being in certain competitions or being in certain extra activities on the side actually helps them. They don't think it that way. I mean, I keep telling them it's wrong. When you go to college, all this will actually help you. You just don't know it yet, but it's there. It does help you. I mean, if you go to the somewhere to clean the bathroom for volunteering, I mean, all these experiences can be put into your story, or when you write into your scholarship or into your resume or your student
Mhm.
portfolio, whatever. Those things will actually help you a lot.
It will.
Now, when I
Yeah.
was applying for scholarship during my time, a lot of people tell me to write the essay, that lie in your essay. What do you think
Mm.
about that?
I'm an honest girl. I mean, I don't like lying. I do believe in karma. What you put out there will come back.
Mhm.
I would say be as truthful as possible because, like I mentioned earlier, your essay is your time to shine, but most importantly, it's the time for you to really be who you are.
Mhm.
You want to be as authentic as possible. Don't give an answer that you think the judges or scholarship committee wants to hear. Give a truthful answer. If you don't have the experience, then that's okay because that's really a part of what makes you you. Because you never know down the line, you can use that as a story to motivate someone else. Like, hey, a couple years ago, I was trying to apply for the scholarship, but I didn't have any experiences. And it's really something you can grow from. So I would say be as honest and truthful as you can. And if it's something that you know that you're lacking that you want to include, but you know you don't have that experience in, try to go out and get that experience. Just try to better yourself and level yourself up so you can actually add what you did in the paper and being truthful and being honest about it.
I, that is very important. During my time, if you, I think most people lie about during in their scholarship. I didn't. I was pretty honest with it. But I feel like even though even if I did lie, I feel like in those days it's hard to find out the truth about it. But nowadays it's so easy. If you lie about it, they can find you, which is important as well. I think social media presence. I think every
Yeah.
young generations right now have their Instagram, their TikTok, whatever. So I think, and I truly believe that schools right now, they actually go through your TikToks or whatever, and social media, just to see if you are a good person, right? So
Right.
in this case, I think having a clean social media profiles are very important for this clean online
Yeah.
presence.
I agree, especially like for scholarships, because you never know when the committee is doing a background check or they want to see who they're going to award the scholarship. Your social media is a part of who you are. I mean, we all know we have the professional person, we have the social media, and we have just the relaxed person, which is also that you want to represent you. You always want to be authentic. So don't take us as saying, well, if that's, you want to represent yourself. You want to be who you are, but you also want to keep it neat, keep it classy, and keep it presentable because you don't know who is watching your social media platforms, especially when you want to get into the job or you want to become a professional career, whatever your career is. I would say try, or where you want to go in life. That's how you should act on social media and in life because you don't know who's going to be viewing your profile and they may see something that's just tacky or tasteless, and then they're like, well, now I don't want to award this person this scholarship because of what I saw on their social media
Right,
platform.
exactly. Yeah.
So really be mindful. And even I know we have like private stories and
Mhm.
we can only add certain people to our circle on social media. I still would be very cautious of that because all you have to do is take a screenshot, or there can be someone in your private who you think, is just specifically your friend, or about, and they can take a screenshot or have somebody take a picture of it, and then now it
Mhm.
is anybody. It's free game for anyone. So really be mindful of who you not only put in your circle, but who you put on what you put on social media as well.
Yep. I think circle of friends is very important. Like you have to have good circle of friends. Man, I had bad friends before. I mean, I wouldn't say I wouldn't label them as bad. I mean, just kind of not in the proper influence, but still, you have to always be careful on what you put out there. Like
Yeah.
back in those days, it's easier because we don't have those social media presence, but now it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Everyone can access anything now. It's too easy.
Right. It's very easy.
There's one thing that we didn't mention, which is letters of recommendation. Are they still valuable right now? Because back in those days, those things are so valuable. You have to find all your teachers to write a letter about you, and So what is it now?
Well, when I was applying, I haven't not applied to scholarships in a while, but most recently, I do think there are some scholarships out there that do require you to have a recommendation letter.
Mhm.
And I would say if there are scholarships out there that asks for a recommendation letter, find a person who you know is going to write you a great paper, a great letter, because you don't want to have doubt. If you have doubts about how great of a letter that would be, then don't ask that person. Um, Keep a running list of who you ask. I like to ask my recommenders 2 to 3 weeks in advance. That's just me. I don't like submitting the week before. I like submitting a week or two before. You never know what can happen. Make sure you read the directions on who you're if the application says this has to be on a recommendation letter, make sure you know it's supposed to be on that letter. Don't leave it up to them because they might miss something and then that might just disqualify you from applying. So find someone who's going to write you a great recommendation letter. Ask them 2 to 3 weeks in advance and make sure you know what's supposed to be on that letter, so when you read over it you are hitting every single bullet
Mhm,
point.
mhm,
And this is something else that a lot of students may be afraid to do, is if it's wrong, you have to tell them. If they left something out that's very important to you or you think would really set you apart from the rest, then you have to tell them and they have to redo that letter, because you want to put your best foot forward when you're applying for scholarships, which is why I recommend 2 to 3 weeks in advance for you to do this. Because if it's not right, you have time to fix it. And if they're not willing to fix it, you have time to find someone else to do it for you.
mhm.
So I would say that's kind of like my 2 cents on the recommendation process, finding somebody for it, and just making sure that you're putting your best foot forward for that.
From my point of view on this one, I think it's so important. The letters of recommendation are so important, no matter what. Even though if you're not applying for scholarships, like every time I go for a job or change job, go to a new place, I always ask my previous boss to write me a recommendation, whether
Mhm.
it's bad, good or bad, just write it. Please write one. If you don't like the way I work, please write it down there. Every time
Yeah.
I go to a new job, I would take that letter to show my new boss. This is what my previous boss says about me. I mean, there's some bad things in there, obviously, and there's some good things in there. So I'm pretty honest. It's out there, and so it's easier for the bosses to actually say, "Oh yeah, well, because they don't know you. They have to know you from somewhere, and those letters actually are very helpful, especially for students right now. Right now, even you're a student in high school, if you're not gonna use those letters for your scholarship, you can still use those letters to get into college, and to
Right.
get into part-time jobs or anything else in the future. I mean, it's also important. I think I believe that is so
It
important.
is. And I would add to that, the things that we use to apply for scholarships, like you were just saying, you can use that for your professional development.
Hmm.
So finding an internship, finding a job, I don't think a lot of people understand that scholarships and professional branding can really go hand in hand. It's kind of like a phase. You go into college, you're looking for scholarships. And let's say you just don't have any work experiences. You have nothing on your resume but all of these scholarships. That right there is part of that should be on your resume,
Hmm.
because your scholar, I don't know how many times I would tell people about the scholarships that I've gotten. And I've gotten some very prestigious scholarship. I know one scholarship in particular was a presidential scholarship. And when people see these big name scholarships, they're like, "Oh man, how did you get that?
Hmm.
There's a story behind that and I want to know it." That is an experience, because when you're applying for scholarships, you're not just applying for money, you are gaining leadership skills, because you have to demonstrate that to
Hmm.
even get the scholarship. you're demonstrating dedication, because applying for a scholarship, especially a scholarship that requires a lot, you are dedicating. It really has a lot of characteristics that you can not only include in your resume, that you can use in an interview when you're trying to grow your professional brand. You rely back to those scholarships, and that will also help you. So they really do go hand in hand.
Mhm.
You just have to understand the relationship between the two and how to take advantage, how to use those relationships to progress professionally.
It's not only that. I believe there's some scholarships during my time. There's like they create a circle as well, and you get to meet the people
Mhm.
who gives a scholarship, and you're
Right.
they're putting you into this a network of different powerful people, I would say, and then you can get influenced by them, and they'll learn from you, and at the same time, you build yourself up, and so
Yeah.
that's it's a start because as a student when you go into this world, there's going to be lots of things. I always tell my students building a network is so important, especially at a younger age, because your friends right now, one day are going to be your bosses, or they're going to be someone that you need to rely on. And I mean, because everyone's going into this world. And so if you have a good
Mhm.
network, or start with a network, and when you go out there, even in the scholarships that you find, and you create a new network, and this network will actually, I don't know, spread out and benefit you in so much ways.
Right. That's very true.
I I I do want to add one few last things though, just so everyone understands this. Applying for scholarship is not just writing, and just send it in. It requires, Rochelle mentioned it. It requires time, effort, right? Especially effort, right, and dedication to find all these things, and actually, preparing up front just to get it. I mean, the opportunities are all there. It's all there. We just have to, like put on the topic, unlock them, find them, right? So it takes
Mhm.
dedication. I mean, it's not that difficult now with Google and everything, but still it takes some effort to look for it. And it's easy to get guidance now. I mean, Rochelle is doing one thing to help people out there. I'm pretty sure there's more out there, more people are going to help you to find those opportunities that you don't see, and they will help you to, to achieve your dream to be a doctor one day, or whatever you want in the future, right?
Exactly.
So, Rochelle, do you have anything else you want to end up with? Maybe like five top points or something for audience there, or students out there who are looking to seek these excellent opportunities for scholarship.
Yeah, I would end on let's see, five things I would say when you're applying for scholarships, and make sure you have the right mentality. I think that's something that is overlooked. I like to call it the scholar mentality. And that simply means when you're applying for scholarships, understand that you are not going to get every scholarship you apply for. So do not get discouraged if you apply for 15, 20 scholarships and you don't get one. That is okay. That is because you're applying, you're doing what most people won't do. You're
Mhm.
taking action, you're actually looking for scholarships. So make sure you have that scholar mentality. To being consistent. And everything takes time. Everything that you want that's good in life is going to take time to develop. So being consistent, which is developing a schedule, keeping a track of spreadsheet on the scholarships you find, when they're due, what's required of them, so you can plan ahead, which will also help you being consistent with doing that. The third thing is applying for scholarships, but also keeping track of what you are awarded. This is something that I wish I might have done a little bit more. Every
Mhm.
time you are applying for scholarships, or when you're dedicating time, you can, if you learn a new skill, or if you learn a new trait, or you learn something about yourself, write that down, put that to the side, because you can come back to that. Like I said earlier, scholarships and professional development and professional growth, they go in hand. So when you're trying to figure out what you did in life, you have that list of those characteristics that you've gained from doing scholarships. Two, when you're writing your scholarship essays, a lot of times these essays are going to say, "Tell me about yourself," or "What are your career goals?" or whatever that essay is. Take that essay seriously and use
Mhm.
the storytelling techniques like I hit on before. And storytelling is basically telling a story. Who are you? Pull on the heartstring of the judges. You when I write my papers, I want to tell them the saddest story, the worst thing ever that has happened in my life. I like to hit them hard from the beginning. And then I come around at the end and I say, well, if it wasn't because of that situation, I would not have ended up where I am at now. And that just shows in so many words who you are. It tells people what type of person you are. You had this amount of time. You went through all of this and you could have given up, but you didn't.
Mm,
That is the someone that I want to be a recipient of my scholarship. And I would say keep all your essays as a final note, keep all your essays, everything you do in one document. Because I mix and match to my scholarship essays. A lot of these essay questions may be the same or they may be similar. And I just did not want to rewrite it 1,000 times. So I would copy and paste different parts of my essays and form a new paper. That's what I did with my scholarships. Even when you're going on an interview or you have a job interview, refer back to those essays because
mhm,
all of those essays they're just kind of star stories, but parts of those stories that you can use to talk about yourself during an interview. So get
mm.
familiar with that and then use that to go on an interview. Just so know what you have and know how to use it when you're applying for scholarships, but also when you're trying to get into the professional world or the corporate world, relay back to those experiences, relay back to everything you did, and use that to advance forward.
That's just pretty much like creating a template. And, it's we have to start early preparing all this, and then when the time comes, you just have to put it out there, right?
Right.
Uh, You mentioned one thing. We can take some time for this. I want to know, like, what made you who you are now, like from because we all know that you are successful. I mean, everyone has to start from somewhere. And you mentioned earlier maybe you have some set part in your life. How did you overcome whatever you had before and becoming who you are now?
Um, I would say I overcame because I have been through a lot in my life growing up. I would say I overcame every obstacle by just keeping the end goal in mind. I don't know what it has been. It's ever since I was a kid, I've always had stars in my eyes. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be, my goal was to be maybe like the next Oprah one day or
Uh-huh.
somebody of that caliber. And I just always had that feeling in myself that I don't know
Mm,
what it is. I just know there's going to be something that I am going to do that is going to propel me to my future. I'm not an average person. I don't like to look at myself as average. I like to look at myself as someone who wants to have that 1% lifestyle. And I've just always had that spirit. It was always had that little bug on the inside of me that is just like, you're going to get there, but you really have to keep going. So I would say just thinking about the end goal, thinking about where I wanted to be in life, how I wanted to be remembered,
mm,
and how I was planning on doing that. So that was like my biggest motivator growing up. And I just kind of cling to that thought when I thought about maybe not doing something or just not, pushing forward. So I just went back to that thought and I kept pushing, kept
mm,
pushing. And then in the process of me doing that, I wanted to get creative. Like, well, if I want to go to college to get to this level, how can I go to college without getting debt? Or how can I take
mhm.
advantage of this opportunity? So every season that I was in, I tried to figure out how I can take advantage of it, how I can be better from it, and how I can do it at no cost to me. So I would say really just keeping that end goal in mind, being crafty, thinking of ways that would always suit me in the process of doing things. Really kind of what kept me going and played a lot in who I am today, how where I am at now.
But thank you for sharing that, Rochelle. It's
Yeah.
definitely the end goal in mind. It's not gonna be easy, guys. There's gonna be lots of things in between, But like she said, keep the end goal in mind. Keep motivated, be persistent. Don't let it
Mhm.
stop you. You want to be something in the future. Like when I was young, I want to be a singer. I'm not one now, but that's not the point. The point is you have something else. You have different goals. Uh, Set it there, write it down. Put it in your wall somewhere. Write it down. You can look at it when and then
Do vision boards. Vision
exactly
boards.
vision boards. Yeah. I don't
I
think
do it
many people
every
do
New
that
Year.
now. I mean,
I think I think you should. I mean, for
yeah.
the past 2 years, I've been bringing in my new year with a vision board, and I am first to attest to anything. Every year I've done a vision board, I've marked at least 3 to 5 things off my vision
Mm,
board, and it's so real to the point where it's like, wow, I put it on the vision, I made it plain, and I
Hmm.
worked behind it to get to where I want to be. And like this year, I can say I crossed at least two or three things off that
Hmm.
vision board. And it's just like a so real, experience and feeling that you can see whatever your goals is. If you put them there and work towards it, at the end of the day, you'll be surprised on how many goals that you've achieved.
Yeah, we definitely. Well, nowadays everything is digital. We can do vision boards on
Yeah.
your computer, on your cell phone. You can do it. I think there's an app for it as well, right? But let's add on this as well. I just remember something for Taiwanese students, for Taiwan students in Taiwan. I mean, language is also very important, for anything. If you know English, if you know Chinese, if you know French or any other language, put it into your scholarship or put it into your resume. Those will help you, especially in Taiwan, right? Or even in America. When I was in America, it does help for them to know that you can speak these different languages, and it just shows that you are a very determined person, a hardworking person, because you are able to learn this so much languages, and this just makes your character a better character, right? In some ways.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's all the time we have today. I want to thank Rochelle for coming to the show and sharing her insights on and helping all of you guys and all of us to understand how we can unlock these opportunities and find these scholarships. Her website is on the chat. Please look it up. Uh, Seek her for advice for any help you need on scholarship. Well, that's all for today. I thank you for coming again, and everyone have a good night.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Have a good one.